You'll have to excuse the beeping. Whilst I was away feeding my face eating dinner, I ended up with a low voltage alarm. Finally made it to very, very low state of charge, 47.1. Because I was away eating my dinner and this has caught us out, I'm not sure what the voltage and the deviation actually bottomed out at, but the low voltage alarm and disconnect on the inverter set at 45 volts, which is about 2.8 volts per cell. So that's why the alarm's kicked off. And I think DC cutoff, I think I set that to 42 volts, so that there was just a little bit of room in it. Oh bugger. Oh bugger. So the voltage would have recovered slightly and bounced back up. This is fucking useless, isn't it? I'm gonna have to find another way. Yeah, you can see there that's 2.9 volts average cell voltage, but that would have bounced back up again, and the cell deviation's 92 millivolts, so that's nowhere near as bad as my Luto Gala ones, and that one's only at 76 millivolts of deviation, and it's bounced back up to the 2.9. So that's us calling that for the discharge test. So what I'm doing now is shut that up, and I'll give it a charge before anything cuts out, and I'll keep track of it as well. So at the moment I'll be charging with 1100 watts. I'm going to try and get that up as high as I can. So that's me pulling 2675 watts to charge that at a rate of 50 amps. So it's going to be many hours. So it's showing 49 amps. Quite noisy, so you'll have to excuse it. So I'm going to try and let this go as high as I can, so it'll be about 1200 each side, 1250 each side, and what I shall do is I shall let it run alright. Protection overcharge current. This was my fault. My fault. Protection over current. Oh, verify password. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So it is continuous charge current. I have that down low at 25 for when I initially turned it on and charged it, so 60 amps. Oh boo, ba 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 ba. What side was it, folks? Can we remember? Right, so it was that one. So everything's charging into one battery at the moment because I was a dick and didn't. Oh, verify password. Jeez, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Verify. 60. It's counting down. It's got a little timer on it, so once it gets past the 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So she's back alive now. Oh, for fuck's sake. So left's got 1807 going into it. And the right's only got 776 going into it, 800 and something. That's quite a wonky side to side. Hopefully they straighten themselves out. Continuous current 60. Continuous discharge. So yeah, I've got a lot more going into one side than the other, so I'll have to see if this all settles down and balances out before I make any rash decisions. So I'll go around it, and after it's been running for a while, I'll just give it all a good fingering, make sure nothing's getting hot and warm. But I've only just started, so it's going to be a period of time yet, but everything's cool as a cucumber. Lovely feeling, nice. Whoop, don't. So that's, I'm gonna have to fix that. It didn't take long at all for them to start pulling back equal with each other. 1225. 1334. So they've pulled in together a lot quicker. Which is nice. So I'm charging at 2.5 kilowatts. I don't really want to go any higher because I'm pulling 11.5 amps from a 13 amp plug socket, so that's as high as I'm prepared to go on that. So the plan is to run it all the way until fully charged at my operational setting that I would normally run at, so that I can just double check that it will do it smoothly with no high cell voltage disconnects. And the 2.5 kilowatt is still a very, very low C rate, so I'm not expecting to see much heat or warmth in this at all, really. Not much of a stress test. But so I've gone right down, actually past where I would normally be operating, to a low state of charge. I wouldn't ordinarily go down to 42 volts and 45 volts for the low alarm, 42 volts DC cutoff I had set in the inverter. I will never operate that low. There's no point going right down there. There's nothing left. So I want to know how much it takes to charge it all the way back up, including inverter loss and all of the cabling, because that's when I know how much we need to generate, including all the losses, to charge a full battery. Hope that makes sense. I'll be back in about 12 to 14 hours, maybe. No, I won't. I'll be back sooner than that, because I'll give it all a pokey wokey and a feely wheelie with the finger, and to see how the balance of the cells and whatever you are doing on the old JK BMSs. I need to improve the lighting and the reflecting and the data display and all of that, but I'll get there. Just happy to get this far. Hello everybody, it's the morning after the night before. It is now 8 o'clock in the morning, and we have just dipped a toe into the 3.4 volts, and there's 6 millivolts of deviation on that side, so it's not too bad. The right hand side, again, just poking our heads up into the 3.4, 11 millivolts of deviation. The balance trigger voltage is 3.45, so we're not too bad, we're all nicely glued together at the moment. It'll be interesting to see now if they start to split apart. The other thing that is interesting is measuring the round trip power consumption and inefficiencies. Nominal, these are 14.3 kilowatt hours each battery, like factory sticker nominal. So what's that? That's 28.6 kilowatt hours, and so far the inverter has drawn 30.2. so yeah, there will be a good bit of inefficiency, probably around about, hopefully, if it is 10%, I'll be happy. So this is AC to DC, DC to DC from the solar. Should be a little bit more efficient, probably not by much. So that'll be interesting. And you may also think that Bayek, that's noisy. So did I. But where are we? Noise test. So yeah, bearing in mind that this is not a calibrated scientific equipment or anything like that, it's picking up me talking. So with me shut up, we're at 40 decibels. So by the phone's guesstimeter, it's a quiet environment. Don't get me wrong, that would be noisy and obtrusive if it was in a library, but out here in a workshop, it'll be fine. If you had it in your house, yeah, you'd get tired of that quite quickly, even though it's only 40 decibels, a couple of meters away from it. So it's not as if I'm going to be living next to a jet engine. All right. So the main goal is to get this charged fully with no interruptions, to see what happens to the Fogstar EVE Grade B cells via the JK BMSs. So it'll be interesting to see if it starts to split apart, when it starts to split apart, and how much total consumption it uses. Hopefully I need this done by 12 o'clock midday, because I'm off on a road trip to rendezvous with one of my cousins to pick up my uncle, who's gonna be a new inmate at the Windy Bottom care home on a permanent basis. So I really need this done by 12. It needs to fucking hurry up. So that's me just outside the workshop, and you can barely hear it. so it's not obnoxiously loud, and it's not going to keep the village awake in the middle of the night, so that's good. Fingers crossed we're heading into a period of high pressure, so the weather forecast for the next few days might be quite nice. It'll be nice if we can get some power coming in, reclaim what I've spent. Ah, dearie me. So back in the inside, and left bank is, everything is over 3.4, 6 millivolts of deviation, 54.51 voltage, 54.5, everything's over at the 3.4, 12 millivolts of deviation, so left is still the best. These have a theoretical, by the book, 14.3 kilowatt hours, so multiply that by 2, it's 28.6, plus hopefully 10% equals 31.46 kilowatt hours, and we're 31.2, so that's from right down low in the state of charge. During my normal operational daily running, when it was down that low, I would consider that in emergency reserves. I wouldn't normally go down that low, so fingers crossed we'll be done soon, because as I said, I'm under a bit of time pressure. I'm on the road at 12 o'clock down to T-Bay services in Cumbria to rendezvous with family and bring the next resident up, which would be cool, but life changing for everybody. Come on, hopefully it will go quite quick from now onwards, and I'm not far over the 10% of efficiencies, inefficiencies. One good thing about the inefficiencies is that inefficiency is going to be converted into waste heat, which, as of this morning, with this running constantly overnight, the workshop was actually nice and comfortable, whereas usually with a little oil filled radiator on low is normally just enough to keep the chill off of it, whereas this morning, while I was having my coffee and my smoke, you know, I was actually sort of sat here with my jacket off and my woolly hat off, and it's actually nice and quite cozy. Need to stop smoking in here because it's not good for electronics. Not good for me either. But fuck it. Alright. We are rocking up there now. So this is the left bank. 3.438 is the highest, 11 millivolts of deviation. Then we go over to the right bank, and we are just at the balance threshold of 3.452 on cell number 1, a deviation of 25 millivolts. Everything's up there in the 3.43ish. Hopefully we'll be done reasonably fairly soon, fingers crossed. I need it to be 9:05 we are at the time at the top. 22 millivolts, 24 millivolts, so it'll be interesting to see if the JK BMS can keep it under control. You see there the amps are 12 amps, So they've just started to pull different side to side. So this side is pulling considerably more than the other side. Now, the only thing that I'm thinking is, have I done a wrong un and made a rod for my own back? Because I tested all 32 cells and I sorted them into a high bank and a low bank to give the JK BMS imbalancing more of an equal opportunity and a chance to keep them under control. Should I have just shuffled them up? But also working on the theory that they will only play to the weakest cell. Does it really matter what I've done, sorting them from a high bank to a low bank or shuffling them up? I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch and see. But the other thing as well is the inverter has just started to tick down from the 40 amps of charging current. It's now ticking its way down, so hopefully we're absorbing. We're coming up against the pressure, you know, and you know what I'm talking about. So that's the left bank again, nearly at the balance voltage cut in, but only 9 millivolts of deviation. The amps are still going up on this side, and the amps are continuing to come down on this side. 3.456, still hovering around about the 25 millivolts of deviation. Last time it was naughty cell number 9 that was running away, and that's nicely grouped together. So the Fogstar EVE Grade B cells, even on the low side of my banks, looking promising. Nothing's run away and nothing's looking scary. Whereas with the Litho Kala ones, they were trouble right from the start. Fingers crossed. Beautiful. You can probably hear by the fan noise we're starting to slow down now, we're starting to ramp down now. $32, $31. So we're slowing down with that. And what side are we? That's the right side. And we are only 25 millivolts of deviation, 3.475 is the highest. Starting to slow right down. The inverter's quieting down. It's saying it's taking 30 amps. So this side is starting to absorb nicely and fill up. The deviation's not run away. On the left hand side, still 26 point whatever, 13 millivolts of deviation. So this side's still drawing quite a lot at similar voltages, so that's interesting. And it'll also be one thing to keep in mind when I'm charging with massive amounts of power, is that bearing in mind that it might have a cascading effect and one side's taking more than the other. So do I have to tweak that in like the charge rates and account for that? Because you don't want one side. I don't want one side slowing right down and blowing the other side up. 20 millivolts of deviation. Filling up, we're filling up, slowing down and absorbing. If the inverter slows down that much, and I don't sort of absorb to where I want to be in my operational, which I am. I'm well into that already. Oh, fick. What was I saying? Oh, it's gone. It's gone. What was I saying? Yeah, because the inverter slows down and goes into its absorption phase, if I never sort of fully absorb and reach my desired operational voltages, I'll just give it a little tweak up. Just give it a little tweak up. So that's looking absolutely splendid, apart from the slight imbalance side to side, but that'll work itself out. Nothing's run away, nothing's peaked. Cell number 9 has behaved itself. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Right, I'm going to try not to launch it because both of my phones are low on battery, but my actual battery's full. So everything's plugged into a power pack. So I'm probably going to launch here. Right, so the inverter has slowed right down. It's saying it's charging with 10 amps. So this is the left-hand side. And we're at 3.5. Everything's over 3.5. It's quite high. Something's wrong with my maths. And then this one's... Oh, I set my float voltage for 56.1, which was 3.5 volts per cell. So I've achieved that with ease. So once the inverter continues to kick down, that voltage will probably creep down, but .25 millivolts of deviation. That's on the left hand side. The balancer was working. 15 millivolts of deviation on the right hand side. So the JK BMS was able to keep that right under control and keep it into touch. I quite like how the inverter slows down as it approaches float voltage and whatever, because it's actually burst over the float voltage that I was aiming for, the 3.5 volts. So this should start to simmer down a little bit as the amps continue to draw off, I hope. We're drawing 8.19 that side. 56.2324. 56.2. 56.2, drawing 4 amps, simmering down nicely. So all that I'm needing really is just to get tweaked and dialed in with my bulk and absorption in floaty fucking side of things. But with the grade B Fogstar cells, nothing has run away. This was a continuous uninterrupted charge, albeit at a low C rate, but this is solar in Scotland. That's about all I could hope for. So the grade Bs over grade As, whoa, grade Bs every day, so much better value for really, really good, you know, because if they were dodgy cells like my little Carla, you know, straight away you'd see cells running away and a massive imbalance with an uninterrupted charge. But right the way up to 3.45 volts, the inverter was still chucking out full power. Nothing had run away disastrously, and the JK BMS balancer kicked in and everything kept under control. And then the inverter slowed down to absorb. So as I said, I've got a road trip today, so I can't. I would have liked to have sort of connected up my Wii power supply turn the AC supply off to the inverter, connect up my power supply and measure what's left after this voltage to absorb. How close are we to absolutely full? But that's not necessary. I did that the other day and it was a matter of 15-20 minutes from a 300 watt power supply. You know, so clever people out there can do the maths. Oh shit, 2 seconds. Told you I'd fucking fuck up. Right, quick before the phone dies. Total consumption, and it's really slowed down now to a tiny little trickle, so that won't change much. 33 kilowatt hours for a round trip to charge that. Now, quick maths. Quick maths. If they only ever go to play to the weakest cell, when I tested everything, and there's all my results, my weakest cell was 282.4. So this is all theoretical, obviously. So it's 282.4 times 32 gave me 28.9 kilowatt hours, plus 10% ish would be 31.8 kilowatt hours, and we've done 33. Done 33.06, and that's right on a trickle. 6 amps going in. So yeah, you got to take into consideration all of the losses and whatever that it's going to cost you. Hopefully DC to DC will be a bit more efficient. And the angels take a big share of it. And I'm only working in theoreticals, but the actuals, everything stayed in balance. No cells running away. Little bit of imbalance from side to side, but that is simmering down now. So, looking good. Nothing got hot. Everything was cool as a cucumber. So, when I get a little bit more time to myself, I would still like to do a continuous discharge, and I'll be able to discharge at a higher C rate than I can charge via a 3-pin plug. That switch, I'm good for 32 amps at 240 volts AC, so somebody else can do the maths. What I would aim for is to be able to run 2 appliances at one time, so there'll be the washing machine and the tumble dryer, or eventually, once that AC coupled inverters go in, for the rest of the house, you know, dishwasher, tumble dryer. So be covering the 2 appliances, and then if somebody rocks up and puts the kettle on, it's not gonna trip anything out. So I've got that headspace. But for a continuous load, I want to aim for 2 appliances, so that would be around about the 5.5-6 kilowatts continuous. That way I'll be able to see if I've got any hot spots or anything like that. And if I buy another one of them, I might be able to keep an eye on and get a total for a round trip efficiency. But that won't be today. Okay. Love you all. It's a great little community. All of the comments and everything and advice that I've had so far has been brilliant, and some of the comments have been good fun, you know. Out of this venture, I'm getting some lovely pen pals. So it's really good fun. Yeah, making this silly boy happy. Look after yourselves, and continue to shine on like crazy diamonds. Peace out. Love you. Sorry, it's another long one. I really don't know how I'd be able to get all of my waffle in and in the 10 minutes. So thanks for putting up with my waffle. Sorry if you find this boring, but I haven't got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to spend editing and trimming things down as quick as possible. So it is what it is. It's my vlog, and that'll do. Bye bye. Yeah, me again. Just a final one to note. In the time it has taken me, 10 past 21. 10 past 21, for God's sakes. 21 minutes past 10. In the time it's taken me to go away, have a shower, come back, that's me well on to the float voltage. The inverter's kicking out absolutely zero juice. It flicks to 1 or 2 every now and again. 3 millivolts of deviation at 3.5 volts, which gives a float of 56.1. That's a bit high. I'll trim it down. 5609, again 3 millivolts of deviation, 3.5 volts. Absolutely splendid, spliffing fantastic. And also, yes.